Yeah.
We welcome everyone to the second webinar of the guest lecture series as a part of Data Science Week conducted by Technical Council in association with Student Council. This is Aditi and joining me is Kartika. We both are from Technical Council. So, as said, the future data scientist can tackle the most business critical and complex challenges that will help businesses take a revolutionary leap forward. In recognition to this, Technical Council has brought Data Crunch, the data science hackathon that has officially started today at 12 a.m.
We wish the very best to all the participants and we hope they develop new skills and interests through this hackathon. So let's not waste any time and let's call in our speaker, Ms. Shilpa Shankar, an alumnus of Department of Management Studies at NITT and data science technical expert at Majm Al Fatem in UAE. Ms. Shilpa has over 5 years experience working in the field of analytics and data science in companies like Wipro, Larsen and Turbo, first Abu Dhabi Bank before she joined Majid Al Fatem. Welcome, Ms. Shilpa.
Hi, thank you so much for the kind introduction.
Hello, ma'am. It's really an honor for us to have you as a part of NITT initiative. We welcome you.
Thank
Uh,
you.
how does it feel to be back again as like talking to NITT students as a part of NITT initiative? Do you have any advice to tell to students?
So it actually feels a lot nostalgic because I feel like just yesterday I was sitting as a student and watching another alumni give lectures. So yes, I'm missing NITT a lot. And advice, I just say this is the best time and this is the only time where you have all the time in the world to do whatever you want, learn whatever you want. So yeah, make use of that the most.
Ma'am, how do you think your life has changed ever since?
I don't think much has changed except for the fact that I work a 9 to 5. But yeah, hopefully a little bit more common sense than before.
Any like nostalgic story or anything you want to share from your time at NITT?
Oh yeah, lots. I mean, like I think right now everything feels like an awesome, like starry memory because like all the night outs during Pragyan, and events at the barn hall, or even if it is tea or juice at the juice center, it's all very nostalgic. Yeah.
Right, ma'am. So, ma'am, as you have been awarded so many different titles and awards at the NITT Best Outgoing Students, and so how you kept yourself motivated and how you managed everything?
So the best thing is, although it might sound like a cliche, it is just about working hard. Uh, I didn't look at it that I need to get this award. It was more like, okay, I need to learn, I need to work hard. And if there was an exam that I didn't do well, I probably went back to the teacher and said, okay, can you please tell me why, how I can do this better? Because I want to know what is the better answer for this. So yeah, I might have irritated a lot of people, but yeah, that's what I was.
That's really nice.
Okay, ma'am. So many students have an idea of what data science is, but they are not well accustomed to the idea of working in an analytics team. So, could you describe the workflow in a typical analytics team, the challenges you face, and the skill sets you acquire?
Sure, sure. Let me just start out with a very simple example. Just assume that you are in a company which owns a lot of retail stores, for example. And the senior management would probably be more interested to know like what is the sales and what is our revenue, what is our income. But as an analytics person, the first thought you have is, are you giving the right kind of products or are you giving the right kind of offers to your customer? So if I say an offer, like if you're giving cash discount versus free goods, not everybody would want a free good and not everybody would like a cash discount. Imagine if you're saying that okay, a person comes and buys for the entire month worth 5,000 rupees and you offer him like a 50 rupees cash discount, it doesn't make sense to that person, right? So the first person who thinks about this is a business analyst or an analytics manager. So what they do is they find gaps in the business and say, okay, this is a problem that analytics can solve or a data can help solve. So what then happens is the analytics project, right? So what happens is the business analyst goes back to the analytics team or a data scientist maybe and says, okay, this is my business case. What do you know that can help solve this business case? So the data scientist probably says, oh, I know what to do. We can just build a recommendation engine. So what is a recommendation engine? It just says customer A should be given offer A, while customer B should be given offer B. That's a very simple example of a recommendation engine. And to the business analyst, the offer part is the business side, and the recommendation engine is the analytics side or technical side. And he says, "Okay, I agree with you. Let's just start on this project. Show me what you got." So the data scientist goes back to his team together with the data engineers, the data analysts, or machine learning engineers. They look at the data, bring all the data together into one place, do a lot of transformations on it, try a variety of models on it, see which one fits the best, and then says, okay, this is our best model. This one gives most meaning to our customer. And what the model is trying to do is it's trying to define how a customer behaves in the store. So if, for example, if I take a typical electronics example, you have people who always buy the latest gadget no matter what the price is. And on the other hand, you have the person who buys only the budget model. It doesn't matter what functionality it has. So a lot of that comes from the model output, but this is just at the insight stage of the customer. So this is still not good enough to actually go to the senior management, because senior management cannot understand data, cannot understand models. They don't get numbers in one way. So what the data scientist again does is he goes to the BI person or the visualization expert and says, okay, I need you to convert this insight into an action so that whoever opens a dashboard or a report understands what that person needs to do. So it might be a dashboard for senior management, just showing that these are your different segments of customers. These are the revenues that you're giving them. And for a marketing person who's actually giving the offer, it might be as simple as customer A, offer A, customer B, offer B. That's it. So that is how the analytics project cycle happens inside an organization. It depends on the organization, of course, because in a lot of consulting organizations, the business case is given by the client and you are restricted within that business case, of course. But if you are in your own company, for example, in a retail company of your own, you have the freedom to explore different kinds of business use cases. You can go to different teams and ask, okay, what is a problem that I can help you solve? And this actually kind of answers your second and third questions as well as skills and challenges. Skills, it's very important to have data skills because you need to understand data. You should be very comfortable with it. I highly recommend people start with Excel and SQL. Although people think Excel, why Excel? Excel is very powerful. You do a lot of transformations in it. It has a lot of plugins that you can download and add on to it to do basic reporting and forecasting as well inside Excel. A lot of people have not tried that. You should try it. And as for SQL, again, like I said, although R, Python, and other statistical software can handle data, in organizations, majority of the data lies in databases. So it is very important that you know how to do your own data transformations and bring it to the format that you want it to. Of course, it goes without saying that you need to know some statistical software or programming language like R, Python, and it could be any advanced software as well, like Microsoft Azure ML or SAS or SPSS. It again depends on the kind of role that you're going into. I would say that you can start with R and Python because they're easy to learn and you have immense number of resources online. And as students, you can leverage a lot of them because one, your students, your organizations, or you're just being just being the fact that you're a student, you get access to a lot of the courses online. The second thing is, due to this COVID situation, a lot of resources have now come up and they're offering a lot of trainings which were previously paid. So I recommend that you guys look into those as well. Apart from that, I would suggest that you go into, if it is for R, you have a package called Swirl inside R itself. It helps you code interactively within R. It takes you step by step saying, okay, type X, type Y, and all that. So it is really great for beginners for R. For Python as well, there are resources at python.org, the official website. It gives a lot of documentation. They have a lot of tutorials as well. So I suggest that you guys explore a little bit, learn which is comfortable for you, and start going deeper into it and do an end-to-end project if possible. Because that is how, even in an organization, even if you go for interviews as well, if you say that, oh, I know data, I know modeling, and I know BI, it's a very good thing because you are an employee who's willing to learn. So the employers are more than happy to just take you. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question.
Right, ma'am. And this might have given very clear version to our audience as in what they can expect if they are thinking to continue with data science, or if
Yes.
even if not, how to start with and what all skill set they should acquire. So thank you. And as you said that as a data scientist, you need to deal with and contact with so many people, be it clients or other teams and so on.
Yeah.
So, to take it further, we really believe and we have read networking is very important in today's world. It is highly imperative to join networking communities if you need a clear vision of what is happening in the corporate world. Can you give us more of an insight in sort of networking communities that you are part of and how it has helped in your career?
Sure. This is actually a very good point, Aditi, because it is very important that you stay updated as to what is happening in other companies. And it is also important for you to know other people as well, because they might have different viewpoints from the exact same work that you are doing, or a different method that they are following. So it's always good to know people and learn from people as well. I have found that personally, I attend a lot of industry conferences, either virtually or, if possible, I can go. I can go and attend them. I will go and attend them. I believe in India as well, there are a lot of data science congresses and conferences happening. I suggest that as students, again, avail the discounted rates and go if possible. If not, there are a lot of virtual webinars happening again due to COVID. Please attend those. They actually tell you what is the latest trend in the analytics industry, and they might even suggest some resources that you can leverage. Some organizations that helped me personally are SAS, Women in Analytics organization, because one, I'm a member of it. Two, they have awarded me with the certificate. So what has happened is I am able to take a lot of the resources that they have, and I'm able to use those in my personal workspace as well. So what has happened is these organizations have actually helped as a woman, because they not only speak about analytics, they also speak about how you should deal with certain difficult situations at the workplace. And I'm incredibly grateful because there have been so many different and difficult, challenging situations where I couldn't deal with. And when I asked these people, when I reached out to the community, they immediately came to my support and said, okay, if this is the case, do this, do this, do this. And it has always helped me in that sense. So I recommend to freshers, especially women, to get into the organization and find the mentors, because that's very important. You need somebody to tell you how to approach in a workplace as well. Your family and friends might not be able to understand the situation you're in. Some organizations that I also recommend are Girls Who Code or the Anita Borg Institute. They offer a lot of internships, scholarships. They have their own conferences and congresses. So you can check out their website. There's a lot of information and there's a lot of organizations in this aspect. So please go ahead, please leverage.
Right, very apt. Actually, as you have mentioned, like you're part of SAS Women Analytics. So there are various fields, and of course, as you mentioned, various communities where women can take part. But can you throw more light on the type of challenges that are faced by women, and can tell you like something to help budding women technologists as well?
That is again a very, very good point, Aditi, because I find that women, when they say that you're in a technical role, a lot of the senior members in an organization, they'll be like, okay, I don't think a woman can code. So I don't think a woman can understand numbers, or there have been situations where projects have been given just because they were male and not female. So in such situations, all I will say is keep calm, go and talk to either your manager or the person who deals with the project, and just say, I am interested in taking the lead on this project. Uh, Next time, if something like this comes in your way, please consider me for it. It's very important for you to speak up, because even a lady manager might not be able to understand that you are interested in it or you want to explore something. It could be that I'm not saying that they are biased, I'm just saying that they don't know that you are interested in it. So it's always better to express your interest, and if you feel that you didn't express it strongly enough, I would recommend have an action plan ready, in the sense that you know the project is coming up. Jot down your ideas on what you can do on the project. Go to that person managing the project and say, hey, I've got some ideas about the project. Do you think this could work? Just have that open conversation with them. It doesn't matter if it's a guy or a girl. You have that conversation with them, they will for sure have your name in mind.
It's very important, right, to speak up and express that you are willing to work for something. True, very true.
Exactly.
Kartika? Hello? So we have a question in live comment. Is it important to know the code from scratch for ML algorithms?
So it depends on the context. One is, are you creating an algorithm by your own, in the sense that are you creating an entirely new workflow which is not normally used, or a combination of transformations which is not normally used? Then yes, you probably need to code it. I'm assuming that you're saying something in R or something in SQL. If it is just for testing out different models, then no, you can reuse other codes, as long as you know what the code is doing, or as long as you understand what the backend logic is. So yeah, it depends.
Right. We have another question. In the wake of COVID-19 induced job crisis, about 14.3% of the populace around the world are unemployed. How much impact has it caused to the analytics sector? And could you tell what employers look for in people who are applying to analytics job, as the competition in almost every sector has risen exponentially?
Right. Again, good questions, because one, the COVID situation, I don't think it will impact the analytics industry, because what has happened is a lot of companies are now realizing that they have another field that they have not ventured into, and that is healthcare and public policy. And analytics is being widely used right now in COVID, not just in contact tracing, in predicting when is the next wave, and in also showing all the other models as to when it will die out as well. So no, I don't find analytics to be a declining industry. The only change I see is that it could be a permanently remote position. So that is what I find in the future, that there might be a lot more analytics positions which are remote, which is good, because you get to work with teams across the world. And on the second aspect, you were talking about what employers are looking for. I believe as long as you have your fundamentals strong and you know which algorithm works in which situation, and I'll tell you that you will not know at the very onset. You will take time. It will take a little bit of experience on your side as well, and experimentation, of course. But employers are looking for employees who are willing to learn, but learn very quickly and adapt to a new situation. It could be new tools, it could be new technologies, and now in the COVID situation, it's also new work styles, but while retaining the productivity that you earlier had. So yes, this is what employers are looking for.
Right. A small announcement. We have opened the floor for questions. So do, if you have any question in mind, do put it in comment section, and we'll be taking them. Another one is, many people think like, if you want to step in as a data scientist and you want to step into this field, you should have a master's or PhD. So is it possible to work as a data scientist in India without a master's or a PhD?
So the answer is yes, you can work in India as a data scientist without a master's or a PhD. But of course, you might not start out as a data scientist. You might start out as a data analyst, a data engineer, or a machine learning engineer. What you probably need to do is start there, explore different things, take on additional responsibilities. So if you are given a box, please don't stay in the box, take out additional pieces and put them into your box, right? And expand your skill set. And once you are able to showcase that, yeah, I'm able to do A to Z without a master's, there's no hindrance, I would say.
Right. So, moving to the interesting question, actually, experience-based one. You have worked in companies like Wipro, First Abu Dhabi Bank, Larsen and Toubro, Majid Al Fatem Group. Could you give us a peek into work life in the corporate world, how it goes about, and how what you feel about it?
So the work is similar to what I described in the first part. You have a use case and you try to build solutions around the use case. So day in day out, it might not be exactly like as exciting as saying, "Oh my God, customer A got offer A." But yes, you know that the end goal is creating a recommendation engine, and that itself is motivation and excitement, because ultimately you're building an end-to-end solution and you are involved in the process of starting from defining the business use case, defining what data elements you have, understanding and going through the entire data, doing the transformations and stuff, and then finally trying out different kinds of models, experimenting with different models, and then saying that, okay, this is a very good model, I'm going to use this, and then you present it also. So I think the excitement peaks when you are in front of the client and the client actually says, I didn't know this about my company, and you gave me a new insight about my own company. That is I think, the moment that you feel, okay, I did a good job. Yeah.
Another question we have, there has been a big hype over taking up data science as a career. So, will that make an excessive supply of skilled people in a particular field given this situation of post COVID, where companies have seen huge losses? Whether will they still be ready to hire data scientists? It's similar to what was asked, but do you want to add something to this?
Sure. The good thing about data science is it's not restricted to a few industries. And the good thing is, even if the declining industries are not able to hire right now, I don't think data scientists come into that category, because ultimately data scientists show where you can increase your revenue, how you can increase your revenue, and how you can reduce your costs. So they kind of provide the direction to the company based on how the company has been performing on how the market is. So I don't think analytics or a data science as a profession will be affected. But yes, there are a lot of industries as well, a lot of niche industries as well, where data scientists do go. And I would recommend that people just explore all of those options. Yeah.
We have another question. How do you think AutoML will influence the field of data science? And another question similar to that, will AutoML framework, pandas profiling, etc., will put down the jobs for data analytics in the future?
So again, AutoML, as far as I understand, is just a comparison of all the models that are possible, and then it just gives you the best possible model. It still doesn't do all the data transformation part. It still doesn't do all the variable transformation part, because people underestimate the importance of feature engineering. Feature engineering basically means you are trying to bring out the most defining variables of either customer behavior, or which could influence the model the most. So imagine if you have 100 redundant variables which make no sense at all, and AutoML will still give you a model, right? So it I don't think that AutoML is meant to do that. I think AutoML is just meant to make lives easier, in the sense that you know what are the models you want to compare, or you know what output you want to look like, and you just want to reduce the manual task of comparing models, or tuning, or cross validating it like 10 times or something like that. So yeah, I don't think AutoML will replace. It might help you do things easier. Yes.
Right. Uh, True. Now we have another question. How different is ML from development?
Development, I'm assuming you mean code development or software development. Um, ML is different in the sense that it's not just about writing a program. So machine learning is not about just writing those steps in the algorithm, because people have already done that in packages. People have already defined those functions in packages. It's about how you can say that, okay, all I know is, for example, I know my customer sales, I know my customer dates of transactions, and I know how many items he bought in each transaction. What you need to know is you need to have enough knowledge about algorithms to use them to give the output that you want, saying that either a the customer belongs to the trend loving category or the budget loving category. So that is your I would say it comes from your side, it comes from your brain, it's your idea, and you want the model to give you this output. On the other hand, you want to say, okay, this customer is going to purchase or not in the next 1 month, is a completely different question, is a completely different case. And you apply a completely different model to it. So ML is not about development, it's about understanding how the logic and how mathematical equations give you different insights about customer and how you can make it to give you that sort of an insight.
Right. True. The next question we have, some people, including myself, believe that data science might be reaching its saturation point. What do you feel about this?
um, I would like to actually ask more about what saturation point is meant over here, because there are different cases. A lot of companies that I find, they don't even have basic skills or basic data management in place. And a lot of companies are on the extreme end where they are using advanced analytics in real time to automatically generate a lot of insights and push offers to customers in real time. So I don't know if I don't think so. It is reaching its saturation point. A second, I do find a lot of new applications of data science coming up again, helped by technology, helped by necessity as well. For example, agriculture. People don't know that data science is being used in agriculture, and in what sense it is being used. There are also reforestation techniques being supported by data, AI, and ML. Those are again new. GIS based technologies, again new. Public policy, healthcare. People are now realizing that healthcare analytics is a very important field, probably ignored and probably done only by pharma companies earlier. Now, a lot of people are wanting to do it in their own companies, and a lot of people are probably hiring again for those sort of functional expertise. So, no, I don't think it is at the saturation point. But Ayush Singh, I would like to know what you meant by you feel that it is reaching a saturation point.
All right, do let us know in the comments below. Also, yeah, you have given various sectors, you have told about various fields that are opening up more and more opportunities, and that might help students a lot. Uh, okay, so another one I wanted to ask, uh, this is again your personal experience based. We have seen that you have worked on, you have your public. You have your publication as a report on women empowerment program in colleges. Can you tell us more about it?
So that report was basically a study on how effective women empowerment programs were, because during the course of that study, what we found out was a lot of women empowerment programs were happening. People were taking a lot of initiatives, but it ends at the program. There is no follow up and there is no backup resource that is provided to those ladies. And for the women, it's just about attending a class and then, or attending an hour's lecture and then going back and leaving it. So it was a study on that. And what we made was, it shouldn't be a single lecture or it shouldn't be a single series of lectures. It should be staggered throughout the college year, in the sense that either you assign a mentor from a senior class to a lower class, or you assign somebody who's already in the already work in the working industry, not necessarily consulting or IT or whatever, but someone who's already working with someone who's in still in college. So it could be that, or it could be a series of classroom programs which will actually teach them skills that would help them employ themselves, or skills that they could use in their workplaces. It could be technical skills, it could be programming skills, it could also be business skills like how to start your own businesses, what are the options that you have, how to do your own finance if you want to start your own business and things like that. So yeah.
Right, that was what. Our data, next question that we have, are data scientists a luxury for companies during the pandemic?
Let me put it this way: if companies think data scientists are a luxury, they probably are for that company. If companies understand that no, data and data science and whatever solutions I am using right now is dependent on data science, then no, it's not a luxury for them because it's an essential function for them.
True, well put. So next question, in the industry, do people define new ML algorithms mostly, or do they use the existing ones?
So what I would say is, people developing entirely new ML algorithms is very rare and probably happens only in product companies and in research based organizations. And those are very niche skills. In the other On the other side, consulting companies and other organizations use existing algorithms, but you have to again realize that algorithms on their own don't make any sense. You need to create your own customized workflow, and you probably need to change the algorithm as well. So for example, if I say logistic regression works with variables xyz, I, for instance, might not use a logistic regression logic as is. I might be using it for an entirely different aspect of my work. I might not be even using it for the function it was intended for.
Hope that helped, Mehul. So we'll take just one more question from the comments. Uh, from Nitin. We had a lot of people pursuing masters in business analytics. What is your opinion on that? What would be a better alternative in your opinion?
I think that the main reason why people pursue masters in business analytics is because they come from a non-data background or a non-programming background, and that is a very easy avenue for them to understand data, understand programming, and is a very easy avenue to get into the analytics industry directly. Better alternative, I suggest that you probably choose your what would I say, courses. It might be difficult for a complete newbie of programming and data to understand data. So you might need to start from your very first year itself to learn those skills. Like I said, Excel, SQL, you need to start learning R, Python. And you need to build your profile such a way that it showcases yourself as a data expert rather than whatever field of engineering or anything else that you're in right now. It might be difficult. I'm pretty sure it is going to be difficult, but that is only the first step. Second step again would be to get into the job that you want to. For example, if it is something in analytics, please get into an analytics team or analytics role, because the first couple of years are when you can learn the most without being, you know, without being reprimanded for any mistakes that you make. So yes, those two things are very important. You need to build your skills, build your profile, and then get into the right kind of a job to make sure that you have that skill set in hand.
Right. That would have definitely helped Nitin. People are actually interested in like putting up questions, and they want the session to go on for a little longer, and they want to ask few more questions. So, would you like to take few more, like one or two more questions? Okay.
Sure, sure.
So there we have next from Shivanuja. I'm from metallurgical background. Will data scientists be hired in steel industries?
A very, very good question, because first, Shivanuja, what I would recommend that you do is you research the kind of companies that are doing analytics in your industry. For example, I know a lot of oil industries, which is a completely random place. I know a lot of oil industries hire a lot of data science in the fields of GIS and in the fields of normal machine learning, because they want to model the best spots where they can dig for oil. So that is a very simple use case that I'm putting. So better you start with the industries or the companies that you want to get into. Probably get in touch with some of them, do more projects in that area, try to get an internship with one of them in their analytics team if possible. I know this sounds like a huge task, but if nothing works out like that, then please focus on projects that are from steel industries. For example, I am not aware of the steel industry, so I won't be the right person to comment, but it will be better for you to do exact projects that would be there in a real-time steel industry as well. And I would also say that it's not necessary that if you are a data science, you have to be in that functional space as well. Because I have worked in a bank and I worked for the marketing data science in that bank. So it's not necessary that you can also find applications of your field in other companies as well. For example, KPMG or ENY, they have specialists or functional experts who belong to certain sectors. So maybe you can try for those as well. So don't be afraid that you are from a metallurgy background or anything like that. You have a lot of options.
Actually, that was nicely answered. Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Also, next we have what is the biggest data set that you processed and how did you process it? What were the results?
Okay, so let me put it to you this way. There is no such thing as biggest data set, because I'm sure that even when I was in college, I was like, oh my God, I just imported a 2 GB data set into my basic laptop and processed it using R. In real life, it doesn't work that way. For example, even today in retail industry, I'm talking about thousands, if not millions of transactions in one day. And if I start taking at item level, that if imagine if I go and buy milk, bread and cheese, I have three rows there itself. So if imagine if you're having thousands of customers multiplied by the number of items that they bought, that is a big data set. What I cannot answer because every day I deal with big data sets. How I process it, it depends on the organization. Again, I would say I mostly use SQL and SAS because that are the tools available to me. In other organizations, I have used Hive, and I have also used, again, I think Python, I believe, for some sort of scraping. But yes, what were the results? Again, depends on what I was doing at that point of time. Could be customer insights, could be just a simple sales report. Yeah, it depends.
Well, I guess you have your doubt cleared, and now next we'll move to the next question. It's by Rakesh. Please elaborate on how data science can help in sustainable development, other technologies like IoT and other such technologies.
So I don't, I'm sorry, but I really don't understand this question. I'm assuming that you're asking how data science is used in technologies of IoT and other technologies. I'm going to just say that data science helps those devices function in the way they are supposed to function. If, for example, a thermostat, for example, intelligently detects the temperature and reduces the temperature in a house, uh, the background program is probably based on some ML algorithm. So yes, if that is what you are asking, that is how things work. And I believe it is also used in a lot of other applications like bots, and even now a lot of house appliances are also using ML algorithms at the back end. Yeah.
Right, ma'am. So we have our last question. This is by Vatsalya. Which type of prediction algorithm is best suited to predict the current corona trends, given that it's so unpredictable and depends on so many factors?
So I think Vatsalya, you answered it, because all the models that I followed online, they gave a very different prediction for corona, and none of them were accurate. But I would recommend that I will try to see if I can find the link, and I will try to share it with the hosts Aditi and Kartika, and if possible. But I recently found a video on how one lady actually discovered this model that said corona is going to peak slowly and last longer, whereas 99% of the models in the world said it's going to peak fast and decline fast. And this model is the one model that people said no, it's the wrong model. But now this month, actually in June, it got to be validated as yeah, that is the only model that was true. So let me see if I can find that. I'm not sure which prediction algorithm it was used because there was no information on that. But yes, let me see if I can share that information with you guys as well.
Sure, ma'am. If you have anything, any links or any material to share with us, we will definitely circulate it with everyone. So
Yeah.
do share with us. And this is the end of question answer session now. And we thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, ma'am. And we had a really enriching and informative session. There were a lot of information regarding various sections of working environment, especially. So thanks a lot for giving your time. Thank
Thank
you,
you so
ma'am.
much for having me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so now as we are at the end of our session, almost at the end, there are a few things which should be noted. Don't forget to attend our next session tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. And this would be our next lecture in the series of for Data Science Week. So do stay tuned and follow and to come to watch our next webinar. Also, a friendly reminder from our side, NITSAC and AIIC is hosting an alumni webinar, which is live now on the topic the cloud and automation by one of our distinguished alumni, Mr. K.S. Ganeshan. Do check it out on the WebEx platform, and link will be shown in the comment section. So do head to there too. And stay, thanks for tuning in. And we have a feedback form. We'll be putting that up in the description of this video. So head to the description and do provide the feedback. We would love to know how you felt and what you think about this webinar. Uh, and for now, we hope you had a great day, a good session. Stay tuned, stay safe. Thank you.